Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we are going to look at something called Active Directory. In this video, we are going to focus on enumerating the domain controller of the Active Directory. So basically, what is an Active Directory? It is a kind of a server, or you can, in very easy words, we can call it a phone book where all types of information about users, groups, and policies are stored. So Active Directory is the most used service or a system used by companies in these days. So it is very important for us to know how this we can manipulate Active Directory. So in this video, we are going to look at three main things. Number one, we are going to use Kerberos user enumeration. So what is Kerberos? Kerberos is actually a authentication mechanism that is used by the domain controller to authenticate the users. Second thing is something I think most of you have heard is Kerberosing. So Kerberosing is a process where we exploit the Kerberos or the Kerberos authentication system where privileged user authorization pre-authorization is not being checked. After that, the last thing is to get the NTDS DIT file. This is a very important file in the Active Directory system. This file stores all the usernames and their NTLM passwords or hashes. So let us begin with the enumeration process. Before we begin, we are in this video we are going to use this machine in the TryHackMe. So let us copy this IP address and run a basic Nmap scan. So this scan takes a quite while, so I have already completed this scan and stored the results. So here is the result of the scan. So here we can see that it is a Microsoft IIS server is running. A 53 domain controller DNS controller is working. The main thing we need to look is at port 88 where the actual Kerberos runs, the net BIOS, the Active Directory LDAP where we can sometimes use the LDAP injections, is the port 445, and the information we get from here are name of the forest, which is the spookysec.local. Actually, forest is nothing but the domain under which Active Directory works. Here we get most of the information from here, spookysec.local. So let us do one thing. Let us create an entry for this machine in our host file. So we created entry in our host file with the IP address and the domain name. Now we'll use a tool called Enum for Linux, which will help us to enumerate the port 139 and 445, which are the SMB ports. Before using this tool, I will like to do some manual enumeration with SMB client. So assembly client is not a penetration testing tool. It is a real tool, helps to list all the shares in the SMB. So let me see if I can get some shares with the SMB client. So here we can see that there is no way we can list the shares, but anonymous login was allowed. So I don't think there is any need of using the Enum for Linux tool, because it will only show us the password policies and the name of the domain controller. So there is no way. So we know that there are some basic things for domain controller: the password lockout policies and the how password can is the what is the username policy. So here we directly come to the kbrosting or the kbrost part, where we enumerate the users using the kbrost. Here in this CTF, it provides us with two lists of username and passwords, which is a modified list, and we are going to use that for our purpose. So here we are going to use some tools for enumerating and attacking the kbros. First is evil win rm. The second one is going to be kbrute, and the third one is going to be a toolkit called impacket. So impacket is a very interesting toolkit. Here we get many tools which we can use in our network penetration testing. So first of all, for this we are going, for the purpose of enumerating the domain controller, we are going to use a kbrute. So I already have kbrute in my path, so I will going to run this like this, and we are going to use this function called the enumerate user enumerate. So we have to perform this in like this. We need to provide the domain. Yes. Then we have to provide something called the DC is the IP of the domain controller, and let us store this output in a file called users and start this in a verbose mode. The thing we did is we didn't provide a username list. So here is a user list. So as we can see that it is running to all the possible names, and here it finds a valid username here. For saving some time, I have already created and got the output of the valid users in this machine. So here the usernames are this, like SVC admin, backup, administrator, James Robin, and the domain name comes after the @ part. This is spookysec.local. So .local is nothing but it's like a .com, .in, or any extension after the main URL. So .local is mainly used because it is used under a local intranet server. Now we are going to do something which is going to utilize the usernames. So we found a very interesting we are going to use a very interesting username is the SVC admin. So we are going to try to get some shares out of SVC admin. We are going to get the shares by using this command. Now we get a problem that SBC admin requires a password for login. So we need to get a password for the SBC login. Now here we are going to use a technique called cape roasting, where we are going to manipulate or exploit the service Kerberos in the server. For that, we are going to use the in-packet toolkit and executable in the toolkit called get np user. If we run this executable get np user, we will get to see what are the path command line variables we need to use. So for this, we are going to first need the domain name with the username. The domain name is cookiesec.local followed by a forward slash and svc admin. Next thing is we need the DCIP. The DCIP will be as follows. And one more thing, will be not be using any password for this, so no password. So let us run. So here we can see we get a hash for the user. This is called the TGT or the golden ticket. So we are going to try to crack this hash. So first of all, let us save this hash. Now let us make some changes to the hash and delete those things which we don't need. So for the purpose of cracking this hash, we are going to use John the Ripper. Hashcat is a much better tool than John the Ripper, but because I'm using this Kali Linux instance in a virtual box or in a VMware environment, so I think the purpose of using the GPU will not be available in this environment. So John the Ripper is a better option over here. So here we can see that John has found the password and the password is management 2005. So I think now we'll able to get the shares out of the user SVC admin. Let us use the password. We can see that there is a share called the backup and the others are all the basic default shares which are available in the SVC server. So now let us connect to the backup share. So here we find something as backup credentials. So let me download this backup credentials. So here we see that backup credential has some kind of hash. So let us crack this hash using an online tool called CrackStation. I think that CrackStation might not have this hash. So uh, we will use CyberSafe for this. CyberSafe is a very useful tool for encryptions. There you can search something called magic and you will find something like this. Just copy the hash, paste it over here, you will find the output or the result for the hash. So we found another user called backup at the spooky check and the password for backup. So let me save these things over here. Now here in this machine or any kind of Active Directory domain controller, the backup user is a policy user or a group user which stores all the information about the entity's files. An entity's file stores other information about the users and their passwords. So now we are going to use this username or the user account to get the entity's DID file. For that, we are going to use a tool called secret or secretdump.py. This tool comes with the impact toolkit. Let us see which arguments we need for this. So I was disconnected from this machine. So let us again run the attack to fetch the NTDS file. So let us apply the password. Now you can see that the secret dump.py is fetching all the information from the NTDS NID file, and here we get the hash for the administration. Let us just copy this and save it over here. Now we are going to use something called passing the hash function using a tool called evilwinrm. Here we just need to pass the IP address, the username with its administrator, and the hash of the administration. So guys, now we can see that we are logged onto the remote machine using the administrator username and the hash or the NDLM hash, and we are the local administrator or the domain administrator on that machine, the domain controller. So thank you guys for watching this video. I hope to bring more videos just like this as tutorials and much more. If you want to know more about domain controller, you can watch some videos of the cyber mentor and the techniques he use for this kinds of attack. So domain controller is a very important topic that a network penetration tester should learn in these days. Thank you guys.